Hey there everybody, it's Mark Crilly. I'm back with another How to Draw video. Today we're going to be learning about three-point perspective. That's the kind of drawing that you do when you want to do a sort of a bird's eye view. So we have an office tower here, and you can see 1, 2, 3 points, okay? And all of the horizontal lines on this side of the building are going off toward that point. All of the lines over here are heading off toward that point. And what turns it into a three-point perspective is you have a point at the bottom where all of the vertical lines are pointing in that direction. Now, there's a problem with this drawing. As I look at it, I think it looks distorted. It sort of looks like a fisheye lens. And that's a problem that happens when you draw the 3 points or you place them too close together. I'm going to pull back now and show you where to properly place these points so as not to get this distorted final product. Okay, so I'm doing a little handheld photography here to show you. We got 1 point here, we got another right here, both of them outside of the panel frame where we're going to be doing the final art, and then way down here, that's where that dot is. Now you might ask me, how many inches? Well, it depends on how large your paper is, but just kind of eyeball it and figure that's the distances that you need to have so that the drawing here in the middle will be accurate three-point perspective. Well, let's not waste any more time. Let's get on to the actual lesson. Okay, well, I'm going to begin by doing this all real time, the very first part of it anyway, and then you can sort of get the basic idea of how to do at least one object in three-point perspective. So I'm starting with a few lines here. These are going to be those vertical lines like I showed you in the first drawing, hopefully getting a nice sort of even spread. And, you know, part of the reason I did that handheld thing where I showed you the whole thing, there's no way I can fit all 3 of the dots into this video frame, but I can at least get these 2, and then you saw before, you can hopefully remember where I did that. So I'm making sort of a rectangular box here, and I'm going to drop in a line here that's going to be the lower edge of that box. And then the upper edge is going to come right around here. This will maybe be the far edge of it, all right? And let's just drop in this line here. I know it's a little hard to follow what I'm doing here because they just sort of look like random lines. But here's where the magic starts. And I try to pull them together to create a, it'll start to look like a standing rectangular box. Now, as usual, I hate to do these things. It's just sort of hypothetical drawings. I've tried to imagine a scene, almost a narrative scene from a story that I'm going to be illustrating as we go along. But to begin with, basically it's just looking like a standing rectangular box. And hopefully that shows you how I would use these 3 different points to create something that is of realistic, that avoids that problem I showed you earlier of the kind of fisheye or overly distorted type of three-point perspective. Now, I'm not going to be doing real-time for all of the various components of this illustration, but I wanted to do at least this first one in real time so you can see, about how much time it takes to render something like this. And indeed, it does involve a lot of erasing, you saw me do just then, because, when you're first beginning, you don't know exactly where the box is going to be, where these lines need to stop. So I'm going to go ahead and in time-lapse add a surface up here. I'm imagining that this so-called box is actually a structure on the roof of a building. Okay, so bear with me in time-lapse. I'm going to draw the rest of the roof of the building. Okay, so we've got this is the sort of edge of the rooftop, and it's looking very blank and kind of overly simplistic right now. So what I'm going to do is go in and add some sort of surface rectangles and so forth that help to delineate this surface, make it a little more solid looking. Again, all in time-lapse. All right, so you can see how adding these little extra lines helps to sort of solidify things a little bit. And, you know, generally speaking, if you want to keep things simple for yourself, you are making almost every line agree with one of those three dots that you put at the beginning. You know, realistically, yes, certain things on the surface of the building in real life might be at some kind of an odd angle, and, you know, you can do your best to replicate stuff like that. But, you know, for me, I like to just sort of keep it simple and say, let's pretend that the entire surface of the rooftop is covered by, you know, what do you call that? Perpendicular lines, or, you know, lines that create all right angles, and that just makes it very easy to draw the picture. Now, I want to do something here that becomes quite tricky, drawing a figure, a human figure, in three-point perspective, because of course a person is not going to be all in, you know, right angles. The human body is never done that way. So in a way you have to kind of fake it, but by putting a few lines in place, a few vertical lines, say, and maybe just a couple of horizontal lines, you can sort of help to give yourself a sense of where this human figure would stand. Again, I'm going to do this in time-lapse. I'm trying to cover an awful lot of stuff in this video, but hopefully you'll see how I make use of these lines. In fact, why don't I zoom in? I'll zoom in so that you can see in greater detail what I'm doing here. All right, so I don't know how perfect the anatomy is here, but you can kind of see how I used those initial lines to get a sense of, you know, his shoulder would follow here. And like, here's an example. If I use this perspective system to figure out where his knees would fall, right, or the tips of his toes, these kinds of things can help you to get a more accurate, you know, because part of the problem when you try to drop a figure into this three-point perspective, sometimes it looks like they're not actually standing on that rooftop. You know what I mean? It can just look off in a certain way, and so I'm trying to show you how do you fit a figure into a pre-existing environment like this. And I think most artists are kind of using some system a little bit like this, you know, to whatever degree you can find some help with those perspective lines that can help you get the figure to look like he's actually standing firmly on top of that roof. All right, now I'm going to pull back and add one more element to this drawing. Okay, so you can see I've got this guy. He's sort of holding a rifle of some kind. He's hiding behind this structure that we began drawing. And for some reason, I feel like going into sci-fi mode again. And I thought I would draw some floating droid, like an assassin droid or something that's floating by here, and he's hiding with his gun. So let's go ahead and drop that in and show how you can add an extra object and still have it fit into the scene by using your three-point perspective scheme. So I thought I would kind of interrupt myself just a little bit to show you how I begin to build this droid. I'm starting, regardless of what the final shape of it will be, I'm starting with this simple rectangle that obeys all these rules of perspective. Then I can go in and start adding different details and so forth on top of it so that it doesn't just look like a big floating block. But I wanted you to get the sense that you build on top of a simple structure that indeed relates to all of those 3 points. So let's go ahead and turn this into a cool-looking droid. So I'm making progress in the construction of this droid, and I thought this might be a good opportunity to show you how do you fit a circle into a square surface like this. I'm going to zoom in and show you the step-by-step technique of doing that. Okay, so you may sometimes find yourself trying to draw a circle that fits flat on the upper surface of this thing, and you're like, well, how do I do that? Oh boy, it's not really fitting. This is looking really weird to me. So let me show you a good technique for doing that. And it begins, oddly enough, with a square. And you start by using your, again, your 3 points to draw a square on the upper surface of this object. Okay, so I'm just sort of dropping this in as fast as I can. And then once you've got that square in place, you can choose to even further subdivide that, into like quarters. And finally, once you've got something like that in place, that will sort of allow you to little by little inch your way toward a circle, right? One by one, I'm sort of connecting the dots here in such a way that these lines will fit into that square, right? And, you know, it takes a little practice to get used to doing this, but hopefully by the time you're done with that, you've got a circle that's laying flat upon the surface of this object. And then you can kind of go to town building things on top of that, which I'm going to do right now in time-lapse. Okay, so you can see how I used three-point perspective to create all of the different parts of this illustration, including dropping the figure in. I don't know about you guys, but I can sort of imagine this being a scene from a Star Wars movie, right? Why have you not yet located the rebel informant? We have dispatched an assassin droid, your lordship. Okay, I'm getting a little carried away here. In any case, I hope you found this useful. I'm going to go ahead and jump into time-lapse to just add ink to all of these lines. I'm not going to go full scale into coloring this time. I think I might be able to do what I did last time and create a separate video in which I do some coloring or introduce different aspects to this lesson. But for now, let's kick it into time-lapse and add ink to all of these lines. All right, well, there's the finished drawing. I hope this taught you some useful information about three-point perspective, how to use it to draw pretty much anything, not just a sci-fi thing like this, but apply these principles to any kind of drawing you want to do. For now, though, let me go ahead and thank anyone who has supported me by getting one of my graphic novel series, Meeky Falls. We got Brody's Ghost. The third book is, like, in stores already. I'm just waiting for my box of complimentary copies to arrive. So excited for that, and thanks to anyone who checks out that series. Mastering Manga. We should be able to announce the winner. I may even be in the rare circumstance of doing a second video today. If not, very soon we will be announcing the winner of that contest for the original art and Mastering Manga. But for now, let me go ahead and lay down the pencil. I want to thank you all for watching this video. I hope you found it useful, and I'll be back with another one real soon.